Hi guys, welcome to PIXIENATORY. It's me, Pixie, your doll artist. And today I bring to you a newly commissioned doll. It is rare on this channel, but it will be a male character. Oh boy! I love making guy characters, confess to you with all my passion, but those are rarely commissioned. I don't know the specific reason, but it is just how things are. So I hope today I will manage to create a nice little anime boy character for you. Yeah, you heard it right, it will be an anime character. His name is Hanako, from the anime toilet BOUND HANAKO-KUN. I watched this anime and I wanna say it is great. Truly awesome. I like the style, I like the characters, I like their design, and the story is very cute and romantic. Nonetheless, it has interesting action going on here, so I watched the whole season in a day, while I was working on Hanako-kun doll. I don't want to spoil the whole story for you because the title is worth watching, so I will just cover a few important details that are not that big of a secret. So, Hanako-kun is a ghost. And there is a school somewhere in the world that is infested with all kinds of spirits, and Hanako is one of them. Every spirit has its legend that describes its doing, mostly scary ones, and it is very important for a spirit that legend lives. Each time someone shares the story, it is a way for a spirit to manifest themselves into the real world from the spiritual. And Hanako has his legend, which I will not tell you, so you can take pleasure by yourself and watch this anime. But I will tell you legends of other ghosts and spirits today. Japanese folklore is very rich for this kind of story, so if you are into that, be my guest. I like such stories myself. And if you are not into creepy things, then I'm afraid this video will be exactly about that. We don't talk too much about dolls on this channel, duh! You can ask your questions about it in the comments though. I will gladly answer some of them for you. I'd like to answer all of them, but unfortunately YouTube doesn't show me all of your responses sometimes. So feel free to leave your comments just after video releases, it is a better chance that you will get your answer. And it is a great pleasure for me to answer you. So back to our stories! And the first one is called The Eyes. A classic yokai of Japanese ghost stories is Mokumoku-ren, or Many Eyes, whose origin may be traced back to scholar, poet and artist Toriyama Sekien. The Mokumoku-ren yokai is said to haunt the shoji screens and tatami mats of Japanese homes and temples. The Mokurenji, Temple of Many Eyes, has been abandoned for as long as anyone could remember. No monk tended the temple, but there were frequent whispers of a fox or perhaps a tanuki roaming the temple grounds. More whispers were told about the temple and why it had been abandoned, with children claiming that any man brave enough to last a night alone in Mokurenji would be rewarded with an evening of pleasure with the most beautiful woman in the village. During one autumn festival, a traveling peddler by the name of Yoshimaru passed through the village. After the festival, a group of local merry drunks made a bet with the peddler that he couldn't last the night inside the temple. With a full bottle of sake in hand, Yoshimaru enters the temple, gets comfortable and begins to drink. And once night falls, the screaming begins from the outside. The local drunks can hear the vivid wailing of the peddler and he howls, "The eyes! The eyes!" All around him, peeking out from the old shoji screens of the temple, countless eyes appears and twists Yoshimaru's mind. Calm down. The village men peek inside to find nothing left of a peddler but blood-soaked rug and pair of eyes. The next story is Shadow Woman. At the distant edge of the quiet village, a man named Sakube is sleeping. Under the cloak of night, the shape of a woman appears at his door and knocks to be let in. Still half asleep, Sakube shuffles to the door and finds the woman there, holding in her arms a child. The woman pleads with Sakube, explaining that the night is cold, she cannot feed her child, and they have nowhere to go. She asks only for a bed for the night, but she doesn't explain where she has come from, how she found her way to his village, or even who she is. Still, Sakube gives in to her request and lets her and the baby into his home. He unburdens the tired woman of her baby, but immediately watches in horror as the woman fades into a shadow and disappears back into the night. He glances down at the babe to find it now covered with black fur and sprouting fangs. In his shock, he drops the child, but it too fades away. Each night, when the air is cold and the wind is blowing, the woman returns to his house with her child and demands to be let in, until eventually Sakube is driven mad and abandons his home, never to be seen again. To the next one. This one of the Japanese ghost stories originally appeared in the Ugetsu Monogatari, Tales of Moonlight and Rain, and it is called Simple Dwelling. Ugetsu Monogatari is a collection of supernatural tales and Japanese ghost stories by author Ueda Akinari. First published in 1776, it might be one of the classic Japanese ghost stories, but it's also a love story. At the start of summer, a silk merchant named Katsuhiro breaks the news to his wife, Miyagi, that he must travel to the capital of Kyoto in order to do business and sell his wares. Though she is dismayed and worried for him, he promised to return when the season changes and autumn begins. When the leaves begin to change color, however, there is no sign, not even a whisper of Katsuhiro. Miyagi must spend the cold months alone as her husband is trapped in a city that has fallen into civil unrest and violence. She writes a poetry that captures her deepest upset. When Katsuhiro thinks he might be free to leave Kyoto, a toll is raised and he has no papers for travel. Back home, Miyagi is robbed by a fleeing servant and soon enough must begin to fight off eager suitors, which she does time and time again. 7 long years pass and at last Katsuhiro is able to secure passage home to his wife. When he arrives, his home is still standing in an abandoned village and his wife remains as beautiful and cheerful as she was the day he left. Relieved and overjoyed, Katsuhiro spends the night with his wife, but wakes up the next morning to find her gone. A local beggar informs him that Miyagi passed away some time ago. Who had greeted him was the faithful ghost of his wife, who, after holding up her promise to wait for him, had at last passed on in peace. The next story is Hashihime. Yamada Zaemon Kunitoki has driven his wife to the brink of a madness by taking a concubine. Her jealousy led to many sleepless nights, and ravaged with frustration and anger, she eventually visited the local shrine to pray for the chance to become a vengeful demon. She prayed for 7 nights until finally the shrine priest informed her that he had a dream in which she might become a demon if she followed a series of instructions. First, she must don a red kimono and dye her hair red. She must then place atop her head a crown with 3 fire-lit prongs. Finally, she must sit and wait in the Ujigawa River for 21 days. When that time had passed, the woman became a demon. Her husband, however, had been kept awake by a horrible nightmare. When he asked an astrologer for help, the astrologer read the signs and warned him that the demon would soon come for him. The astrologer then told him how to keep himself and his home safe from the demon. When his wife, now a demon, came for him, she was unable to exact her revenge. And so she took to the streets of Kyoto, taking the form of a beautiful woman in order to seduce and kill innocent men. She also took the form of a handsome man to seduce and murder innocent young women. When the murders became so high in number, the emperor sent out a hunt for a demon. She surrendered to the hunt and vowed to halt her killing in return for a funeral. When the emperor agreed, she drowned herself in the Ujigawa River, and the emperor kept his end of the bargain, hosting a grand funeral for the woman. And we are going to the next story. The Old Mountain Woman. At the base of a large mountain lived a family with 3 sons. One day the mother tells her son that she must go away for a short while, and that they must keep the door closed, no matter who comes knocking. It was known to everyone in the area that man-eating ogre Oni woman lived in the dense forest near the mountain's peak. If she knows that the boys are home alone, she will come knocking. Once the mother has given her warning, she leaves. That night there comes a knock at the door. When the oldest son reaches the door, he asks, "Who's there?" The ragged voice of a woman says, "I'm your neighbor and I desperately need help." The oldest son refuses to open the door, believing it to be the ogre woman in disguise. The next night there comes another knock at the door. When the youngest son asks, "Who's there?" a silky soft woman's voice answers, "I'm a friend of your mother's, here to deliver a message." "Show me your hand," says the youngest son. Through the crack in the door the son spies a weathered hand with long fingers covered in coarse hair. He refuses to answer the door. On the third night there is one more knock at the door. The middle son asks, "Who's there?" The voice of a woman answers, "It is your mother, I have come home." When the middle son asks to see her hand, he sees through the crack only a soft, delicate white hand. Satisfied, he opens the door. There, filling the door frame, is the ogre woman. She reaches out and snatches the middle son, devouring him quickly. The two remaining sons flee the house and gather up armfuls of stones before climbing a nearby tree, so tall it might reach the heavens. When the ogre gives chase and makes it halfway up the tree, the boys rain down stones on her head. The ogre loses her balance and crashes to the ground, defeated. The last one is called Ancient Tree. It is said that the tree that reaches the age of 1,000 transforms into a spirit that may be good and protective, or may be evil and malevolent. It is also said that any woodcutter who dies while working in the forest will be transformed into a woodland yokai. In a dense Japanese forest, a woodcutter known as Musabi no Gen selects an old tree to be felled. After going at his work for a time, a woodcutter hears a sudden and panicked voice warning him, "Watch out, I'm about to fall down!" He looks up at the tree and sees nothing, nobody is there. And so he continues with his work. Soon enough, the voice returns with the exact same message. Assuming it to be a prank, the woodcutter looks around but sees nobody there, and the tree is not yet ready to fall. And so he continues to chop at the tree until night has fallen. Once it is dark, the tree begins to morph and change. Eyes and mouth grow out of its trunk, and from its roots rises a glowing blue light. Unable to move, paralyzed with fright, the woodcutter is easy prey for a tree, which snatches Musabi no Gen and devours him, leaving not a single trace of the woodcutter. And so you got it! Few stories about Japanese spirits, and also a finished Hanako-kun doll just in a moment. I hope you enjoyed listening to those stories, because I like telling them to you. Also learn more about the yokai that exists. And since it is almost the end of the video, I want to thank my customer for the opportunity to create this character for her. My endless gratitude. Hope you enjoy having this doll in your home. And thank you, my dear viewers, for staying here with me today, sharing with me your time. Have a precious day! See you soon in my next videos. Bye! I want to thank my customer for the opportunity. Thank you, my customer, for the opportunity.